Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me see. Welcome to Let's Cross Together podcast with yours truly, the mental health pastor, Fernando Cottrell. I'm on here with a special guest today, trying to hopefully get her set up to get on. Let me see here, Lavera Collins. Let me see if she's on now. See if I can get her on. Make sure she's clear. Uh, So while she's wrestling with that, we're going to begin the podcast. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Cross Together podcast, where we are dismantling mental health barriers. Let's Cross Together podcast is a extension of Bridge Crosser Solutions, where our focus is the ministry of mental health, and we're in a time now where mental health is I believe as a society, we're in a mental health crisis. We're in a crisis. And anytime there is a crisis, crisis always trigger uh, unusual behavior. And if we be honest, we see a lot of unusual behavior taking place because we're in I believe, a crisis as a society. COVID has brought uh, crisis in the lives of our communities, our families, our individual lives. And so here at Bridge Crosser Solutions, our focus is the ministry of mental health, a faith-based biblical approach to counseling and overcoming mental health barriers. So I appreciate you all being here. Thank you all for your support, your texts, your DMs, and so forth. And so today we got a great topic today. Trying to wait for Dr. Collins to get on. Um, Sometimes these social media platforms, uh, it is what it is. So we're going to be looking for her to get back in. Let me check and see. Okay. All right. So the topic today we're going to be talking about. Hopefully she'll get back on because she is the guest today. She is the guest. She is a trauma care specialist. She's almost done with her doctorate in trauma care. She is a licensed chemical dependency counselor, and she's a chaplain. She's a woman of God, and so forth. And also she's my cousin, so she's my fam as well. And so I always love having her on. We've had her on in the past, and she shared her great testimony of how God has brought her through great trauma. And now she's went back to school, in school, almost completing her doctorate to help others overcome traumatic experiences as well. But until she comes on, we are going to talk a little bit. Hopefully she'll get back on. Uh-oh. I got my granddaughter here. Uh, she's kind of, let me see, Jaden. Okay, she's right here. So, I guess I'm gonna deal with her on my lap. So, here we go. So we're going to be talking about reclaiming our peace during and after traumatic experiences. Reclaiming our peace during and after uh, traumatic after a traumatic experience. You know, many times when we go through things, uh, trauma particularly, the tendency is to think that we have to remain where the trauma happened, or we have to stay stuck in the place that negative event happened. And what happens is we stop growing from that place. And from a counseling perspective, that's called psychological arrested development. And simply what that indicates is that we stop growing. Uh, yes, yeah, we stop growing at the place of that trauma. And so now imagine having a negative experience at a particular point in your life, and then from that, And from that point on, you stop experiencing peace. You stop you stop experiencing peace. And that's a long time. So if something happened to you at 12 and now you're 32, that's 22 years of not experiencing peace. Because sometimes what trauma does, when we don't understand how to overcome or get help through it, we think at some point our mind begins to think we deserve it. So, and we don't deserve any peace. We don't deserve any peace in our lives. You want to go with Uncle Jaden, cousin? So let's hello, Carrie. Carrie, how you doing? Good to see you. And so let's see here. We're gonna. I wasn't necessarily prepared to talk alone, so I had to set up with myself and Dr. Collins was going to dialogue. So let me see if I can get her on here. Let me see. She's trying to. Let me see if I can tap her back in somehow. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, see if she will go here. Okay, go. Get the laptop thing. Okay, come here. Come here. Hold on. Come here. She wants to stay with Pop Pop. So I guess I'll get her right now. I'll hold her for a little bit. So hopefully Dr. Collins is getting on. So anyway, this trauma that we all experience, if we all be honest, we all have experienced some type of trauma. Generally, we think trauma is the traditional things that we go through that we label. Maybe a sexual abuse, violence of some sort, abuse of any kind. We think those are trauma, but trauma this last past couple years have been traumatic. It's been a traumatic experience for a lot of people. Anything that counters your peace, anything that counters your progression and moving forward is trauma. Trauma is not always hardcore things. It could be a sudden layoff, a broken relationship, an ended friendship. Those things are also traumatic. Those things can also, if not handled in the correct manner, can produce negative thoughts. And so we're going to, and so let me see if she's going to come on. Let me see here. Hey, sweetie, I got my grandbaby here. So let's dive in a little bit, and if Dr. Collins comes on, great. If not, we're gonna proceed. No. We're gonna proceed. So, what are some of the traumas that we're facing today? As we mentioned, okay, sweetie. I will check with her, Carrie, when she comes on. Okay. Okay, we can talk about that when she comes on, if she comes on, or I can talk to you after the program in the DM, or we can talk through the phone and discuss that. All right, so all right, so we talked about what are some of the traumas of today. Here's Dr. Collins. Hopefully, she's coming on. I got my grandbaby. Kind of let you know how life, you just got to roll with the punches. So let me see if Dr. Collins is ready to get on. Okay, let me see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Uh, can you hear me?
How are you?
Can you hear me?
That better? Yes,
Oh, okay.
I hear you
All right.
fine.
Okay. I asked like 3 times and you didn't say
Mhm.
anything.
Well, I didn't hear you until just now.
So can you hear me clear now?
I
All right. We're going to try to take this from the top to the bottom. We're going to get here. So welcome to everyone again to Let's Cross Together podcast. I have Lavera Collins is on. She's a licensed chemical dependency counselor. She is a trauma care specialist, and she is almost completed or in the process of completing her doctorate in trauma care. So she's our guest today on the podcast. So we're going to welcome her. Still having some slight difficulty with the reception, but we're going to try to see if we get through this. Okay, so you saw the question.
Yes. EMDR. I'm in the process of training for EMDR, but I am able to do cognitive behavioral therapy because I believe that CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, works well for us because it encompasses our thoughts and our behaviors. You know, those two things, our thoughts usually govern our behavior, and so that's why I
Okay,
chose. Mhm.
okay. So okay, so appreciate that. All right, let's get into it. I had to have my grandbaby because she woke up, so I got to hold her while we're doing this. So we're going to get through this. And so again, thank you everyone for tuning in. So Dr. Collins, soon to be Dr. Collins. I'm just going to say Dr. Collins because you're so short. Uh, just knowing your story of trauma that you've gone through. Maybe you want to share a little bit about your journey to where you are, to let viewers know that trauma happens to anybody. Trauma is not a certain look or certain. It doesn't avoid status. It doesn't avoid how spiritual or non-spiritual. Trauma is not biased, and
Does
it happens. It happens. So let's kind of start from there. Just share a little bit from how did you get here, and then we're going to kind of just flow into it with some questions I do want to particularly ask, and then we're going to kind of
absolutely
flow from there. So that's
okay.
maybe not the whole. I mean, 3 hour
The short
version, but just
version.
a little. Let people know that you paid the price to get here,
Yes,
and
I
so let's.
did pay a price to get here, and unfortunately, that price for me was
Somehow the reception is not too good. Let's just see. Hold on. Okay, you're kind of fading out, huh? Uh, are you still there? Are you still there? Well, we're gonna. We, this is how it is sometimes when we're dealing with social media, and it is what it is. But anyway, uh, let me go through a verse here that I believe speaks to what our theme is today: reclaiming our peace during and after uh, traumatic experience. Let me say it again: you don't have to be stuck. Most of the time, I believe, just from being a pastoral counselor and a mental health professional, most my clients, if not all of them, felt like they had to just deal with what has happened to them, and there was no way out. So they just had to just cope with it. But you can overcome what you have experienced. You really can transition from hopelessness to hope. And let's try Dr. Collins again. Here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you see me?
I can see you, but you're fading out. Maybe let's just, you know what? Things happen. Let's just, are you using a different, are you on your phone or your laptop?
No, I'm on my laptop.
It's kind of, okay, let's start. Tell us a little bit. And if we got to do it over, we just have to. So can you hear me?
Me?
No, it's real. No, I can't hear you that
All right.
good. Let me see. Let me see what's happening. These kind of things
And
happen,
my
I
internet
guess.
connection is showing really good.
Did you?
There. Give me one moment. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the.
We're trying to get this straight. Thank you all for your patience. I have my granddaughter with me today. This is just what it is. We're talking about reclaiming our peace during and after trauma. What we may have to do is reschedule this until the connections are better and we get better. We get a better reception with Dr. Collins, who is our guest today. If you are hearing me clearly, send me a heart or something, just letting me know my sound and I'm coming through clear and you can hear me well and so forth. I say I have two people on. If you can hear me, let it be known by clicking the like or whatever, however you do it. Okay, let me see here. Let me see here. Clear. Okay. I'm going to probably have to. I might have to do it without Dr. Collins, start over and redo it. But anyway, let's get into it. So, trauma, if we're honest about it, all of us, I believe everyone has an area that we may have neglected, and if we be honest, it on some level stunted our growth, stunted our confidence growth. So we weren't able to get a job that we wanted. May have stunted our spiritual growth. So we don't feel worthy to do what God has put in our heart to do, or whatever the area it is, trauma or crisis that has not been properly managed through creates problems later on. And you okay? And sometimes it seems, well, I could just get over it. But what we neglect to deal with or get help over or help through doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. It doesn't leave the earth. It grows with you. So it just appears later on when it's time to go for that promotion or it's time to do a certain thing. That area that we neglected now begins to step in and stops us from moving forward. So let's just see here. We got Dr. Collins again. Let's just see. Let's just see what's going on. Dr. Collins,
I'm
can you
here.
hear?
Yes,
Okay. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you great.
Now I hear you better than before. So
Okay, thank
you
God.
went you went ahead and paid the bill real quick? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm This is my family,
Okay,
y'all, so we can clown around. So, all right.
that's a,
Let's talk a little bit. Hopefully this will kind of flow through.
right.
Let's talk about your journey. I know you started before and you're almost completed your doctorate in trauma care. So I'll let you tell your story. But I just want people to understand that trauma does not discriminate. And I would like for you just to share a little bit of your story.
It does not.
Your story of to from maybe where you started from to where you are now.
Okay, okay, I'll do back. Back in 2002, I was in a relationship with a guy that I thought, loved me, and I knew that I loved him. But the problem was he was a drug dealer, and based upon you,
We got to get this right. It's still going out. I got to figure what's going on with this. I got to figure out what's going on with this because I can't hear it anymore. You know what? I'm going to end this and I'm going to come back on and possibly start over so we can get it flowing right. Um, let me figure it out. I'm coming back, you all. Let me figure out why this. I don't like how this is all flowing a little bit, but let me see. Let me see what. Okay, Dr. Collins is back. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to. Yeah, let me get off and start back over. Let me get off and we're going to start back over. All right. I see you all. Give me a couple minutes. We're going to come back and we're going to start it over. All right. Yeah.